All right, let's get into it. College baseball. We're here at the College World Series National Championship Series, which is a best 2 of 3 featuring Coastal Carolina versus LSU. Two hottest teams in the country about to go at it. All right. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday if needed. First team to win 2 games wins it all. All right. So here's the slate. Game 1, Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Coastal Carolina at LSU. Obviously, all these games are being played at Charles Schwab Field, same as they have been in the College World Series in Omaha, Nebraska, but just home and away. All right. So game 1, Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Coastal Carolina at LSU. Game 2, Sunday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern. LSU, the road team, Coastal Carolina, the home team, and game 3, Monday, if needed. We go 3 games in this. Monday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, Coastal Carolina will be the road team. LSU will be the home team. As we mentioned, these are the final 2 teams. Everyone else has been eliminated. This is a best 2 of 3 series, meaning, all right, they will play game 1 on Saturday. All right, Coastal Carolina wins that game. Game 2, Coastal Carolina wins that game. It's over. They're the national champions. First team that wins 2 is how this gets down. Okay, so now we know the teams who are in it, but let's take a look and understand the teams of who they are, how they got here. All right. They're actually very similar. You're going to see Coastal Carolina 56-11 on the year, 51-15 for LSU this season. All right. L5 average. What that is I took the last 5 games. Let me pull this full screen. I took the last 5 games of both teams, Coastal Carolina and LSU. All right. And put together the final score of all 5 of said games and averaged it up. All right, just to get an idea of runs being scored, runs allowed, how they're looking at totals, etc. So both teams won all 5 games, 5-0. All right, average score of the last 5, Coastal Carolina was Coastal Carolina winning 7-3. LSU 9-5. All right, and you can see it. Look, runs per game allowed this year, and ERA. Those 3 stats are all built off of the full season. So why are Coastal Carolina and LSU both in the national championship? Look, runs per game, 7.6 this year. LSU, 8.0 this year. All right, they've done it and gotten here by being themselves, hitting the baseball. All right, and you see runs per game allowed this year. All right, 3.5 for Coastal Carolina, 4.0 for LSU. Team ERA, 3.23 of Coastal, 3.87 of LSU. So what does that tell you? These are 2 really good teams. And they're the 2 hottest teams for a reason. They can pitch, and that's what they're built on, both of them. Okay? Both of these teams are built on pitching. You can see it. Coastal only giving up 3.5 runs per game this year. LSU 4.0. That's how these teams get down. But what they've been doing is their bats have gotten hot, both of them. All right? Both of them. They're hitting the ball. They're not beating themselves. Their pitching is exactly where it should be, if not peaking. These 2 teams are playing their best baseball at the right time, but they're built very similarly. All right, so let's take it a step further. RPI. So what is RPI? RPI is a ratings performance index, or there's some other names for it. But essentially, all right, we have teams in college, and we use this in football, basketball, whatever, to rank teams according to strength of schedule, who they've played, how they've looked, etc., to kind of even it up. You know what I mean? And this is how it came out according to D1Baseball.com. Coastal Carolina, 2nd best team in the country. LSU, 9th best team in the country. So there you go. Like, these aren't flukes. All right, so taking the steps a step further. All right, game 1s of series, all right, through the postseason. All right, I went through the last 3 for both teams just to see how they looked. If they win, loss, find, score average, etc. So both of them won all 3 games, their last 3 game 1s. All right, average score, Coastal Carolina, 8-4. Average score, LSU, 9-3. There you go. Okay, total is at 8.5. All right, now game 2s. Went through the last 3 game 2s. Both teams 3-0. Coastal Carolina, those last 3 game 2s, all 3 combined, put together and averaged 9-3. LSU 11-3. West Virginia series had a lot to do with that, but again, you could see Both of these teams are peaking. They're built off pitching. Both of them are. They're built to pitch. They're built to keep games low scoring. Okay? But I don't know if they're going to be able to. And these are two arguably best complete pitching staffs in the country. And I don't know if they're going to be able to. You're going to see totals here. Let's see if we could pull this up here. All right, I'll get back to that in a second. All right, so here's game one. All right, LSU minus 166 in the money line, minus 1.5 on the run line at plus 114. Coastal Carolina plus 130 in the money line. All right, plus 1.5 on the run line, minus 145. Total 8.5. You see it. Low, because these two teams are built on pitching, specifically starting pitching. They're monsters. However, this series is going to be about hitting. Who can hit the other pitcher? Who could force them into their bullpens? Who can put them in risk-taking situations? Both are dangerous right here. Absolutely dangerous because they're built the same. All right, so that's game one. All right, here is you can bet on, and we'll have more bets that come out. We are recording this Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Central, so we only have a couple bets that are out here so far. But we have this one to win the series. LSU minus 190, Coastal Carolina plus 155. So that goes to show you right there. Okay, now, weather always has a lot to do with the games. I went ahead and put together weather projections for all three. Here's game one. 94 degrees, 20 miles an hour blowing south, meaning it is blowing right to left and kind of downward. You see the arrows on the field there. That's the wind. 51% humidity. So not bad. I mean, the wind's not helping you, but it's not hurting you. 51% humidity is better than what we've had so far in Omaha. It's generally been about an average of 47%. So not bad. Now, you see game one. That total, 8.5. It's low. So like I said, both these teams are built to pitch. They're built to keep runners off base. They're built on strikeouts, and they're built on their starters going long. All right? So that's why you see a total of 8.5. But here's the deal. Look, I'm going to buck the trend here. Everyone's going to go under, and I get it. And I could be proven very stupidly wrong. But I'm going to go in the over here. Number one, it's a very attainable number. Number two, 8.5. If you're looking at this from a betting perspective, look at it essentially, can we get both teams 4-4? We get 4-4, we automatically hit the over because somebody's got to score, right? So, I mean, I look at it from that perspective. We're essentially playing both teams to score over 3.5 runs, right? So, yeah. We'll get to the picks in a second, but let's keep walking through the weather. So, that's game one, Saturday. Game two, Sunday. Let me pull this full screen so you can see. All right, 95 degrees, goes up a degree. 21 miles an hour wind, blowing the same direction, just 1 mile increased, and 42% humidity. Game two is where baseballs are going to die. All right, I don't know what the total for this one is going to be, but what I'm hoping for is that it's 8.5 in game one, which we already see. We're going to take the over. I hope that the over blasts it completely. All right, and then they jack up the number for game two, and then we're going to play the under. Because this is where balls are going to die in game two, not game one. All right, now, if we need a game three on Monday, let me just tell you this. So game one, we're on the over. Game two, likely the under. We need to see what that total is going to be. But game three, I'll tell you right now, look at the weather, completely changed. All right, if we need a game three, I mean, we'll talk about it, but pretty much go ahead and take the over. As soon as game two is done, if we need a game three, as long as the number's not ridiculous. Because the weather's completely different. 76 degrees, feels great. 13 miles an hour, blowing the opposite direction and slightly more out to right field. And 74% humidity. All right, let me show you this here. This is why we care so much. Every 10% increase in humidity above 55% results in roughly an additional 10 to 15 feet of carry of the baseball when hit. Meaning 55%, let's just say 75, so 20. Okay? It's an extra 20 to 30 feet of the ball carrying just by the humidity alone. That's why it matters. So game 1, we're going to go over. Game 2, depending on the number, we're going to look to the under. And game 3, if necessary, we're blasting the over. Absolutely blasting it. So who do I have winning it? LSU. Now, there's nothing against Coastal. LSU is just LSU. They're blue blood for a reason. This team gets to Omaha and doesn't go away. They're going to be a problem. Kate Anderson's going to be a problem. Monster Milam's going to be a problem at shortstop. LSU is really good. But this is going to be a great series. So don't sweat. Like, I'll show you this. So here are the picks. All right. So like I said, this is, we don't have anything really on the board. But game 1, we're taking the over 8.5. Okay. Game 2, depending on what the total is, we're going to look for the under. But we need some things to work out. So don't lock that in just yet. We'll have to talk about it after game 1. But game 1, over 8.5. All right. Now, we don't have this bet out yet, but it will be here probably Friday, maybe Saturday, probably Friday night. All right. You're going to get a bet on if the series goes over or under 2.5 games. Because remember, it's a 3-game series. First team that wins 2 games wins it all. So essentially, are we going to split games 1 and 2? I think so. So as soon as we see this bet come out, we're going to take it, because then it's going to set us up in game 2 to where we have options. You see what I'm saying? So whoever wins game 1, we essentially have the other team money line in game 2 automatically off rip, just from this over 2.5 games bet. See what I'm saying? So after that, we could play totals accordingly. We could play team totals accordingly. We'll get to all that Saturday, Sunday, and hopefully Monday. But yeah, so this is all that we have on the board Thursday as of 6:40 p.m. Central. So don't think that I watched 10 minutes of this and he gave me 2 stupid picks. That's all that we have right now, right? But that's the plan, is game 1 in the over. What we want is that over to get blasted. Then we want the books to put out game 2, a very high total, and we are going to fade that. But again, we have to see how game 1 plays out. We have to see game 2, bullpens, et cetera, et cetera. We'll get there. But the plan, all right, game 1 over, game 2 under, game 3 over. Over 2.5 games, and then we will get to game 2 after we see game 1. And with the strategy with the over 2.5 games, it gives us a lot of options. But again, we'll have to see who wins game 1. Okay, that's it, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. All right, check us out daily, 10 a.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Eastern. Driving the line. Telling everybody best of luck. Cash these tickets. We'll see you soon. Thanks.